Well, so do you.
Oh, thanks. Job's aging me.
I know, I can't believe I think that we're just like my kids. I'm just like, this is easy.
Yeah.
How the-
I know. Are you starting with
Are
school
you
and stuff?
starting with your board of
Yes, she's back from Italy. So she
Hey, Bobby, how you doing? Good.
Got into Baltimore for January. So she was actually Friday, Saturday went up and she knows two kids up there.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Same thing.
yeah.
Actually, my daughter just had a recruiting phone call with Nashville College.
Oh, yeah.
The golf coach wants for that. She's like, I don't know if you want to play golf. I'm like, you picked to play golf in college. You go play golf. She's like, yeah, but I don't want to play golf on the weekends. I was like, I know. No man would ever say that.
I know, come on.
Depends on what we're doing.
This is what I kind of, yes, I have one, and I think she's the other one,
I
right?
could do both. I can do it. No, it's not that one. It's just that I said I do other things.
We could do that, and then I'll ask the people on Twitter, if they don't want to do it. Because I got a couple requests, but not
Oh, really?
so I even know it. No. Was Jeff with you?
No.
I haven't heard from Jeff.
Well, we can stay on policy. I don't mind, and I don't mind doing that.
I don't want you to do both.
That's fine.
No, I don't want you to do both.
Oh, really?
No, that's too much. No.
Whatever you think. I mean, I definitely think Jeff should start.
We'll just wait for our superintendent to get done mingling. Mr. Social up there. Okay, so everyone turn and stare at Mr. Smith if you could. We're all just staring at you because you're socializing. We're just going to wait for you.
I was giving instructions, so it goes smoothly on television.
Just want to give you a hard time.
But policy goes.
I know. Get situated. Did you hear from Jeff today?
I did not.
No,
and he
neither
was
did
not.
I. Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the pledge of flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to skip our business for right now and go right to the good stuff.
Excellent.
Yes, we have some guests here this evening.
We have two outstanding artists from the Memorial School who we are very excited to introduce you to, Hadley Galovich and Ryan Flannery. If you both would come down, they know exactly where to stand.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be so impressed with this. Excellent. Come this way just a little. I want to make sure you're on the camera. Perfect. And the bell in the background. And we have the art teacher, Carol Ann Vining, is here to share a little bit about each student. And while she's talking about each student, we do have pictures of their artwork. I think this is Hadley. I hope I matched the right artwork with the right name. Both of these are budding Picassos. So why don't you start with Hadley while we have her picture up here, and then we'll switch to Ryan.
Okay, so Hadley, I've had the pleasure of knowing since she was very little, all the way back in kindergarten. And she is an incredible person. She's also a very hardworking artist. So it was just a natural pick, really, because the effort that she puts in to her work is incredible. She has an attention for detail that you don't see as often as with this age. And she also has this incredible ability of understanding like the art concept. So nothing's too difficult, nothing's too challenging for her. I can throw things at her that are much higher level skills or higher expectations, and she can just show me no problem at all. She's an independent thinker, an independent learner, and an incredible problem solver. So, you know, when Mr. Smith had proposed picking an artist of the month, you know, she was a person that I could see really living up to that name, you know, being the artist of the month, being recognized by the district, by Memorial School, by me. And her artwork up there, I'm impressed and happy to know you connected it to Picasso, Mr. Smith, because I'm sure I can tell you a thing or two about Picasso. And we were learning about some art history, and she has a passion for art that has been there since she was first in my art room. So she's very well deserving artist for this award. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Happy. And Ryan.
And as you can see, Ryan's work has a much different feel to it. And if you look at it, it is still a Picasso-esque piece. But Ryan, I also have had the pleasure of knowing the whole 4 years that he's been in Memorial School and watching him grow. He is a little bit more of an exuberant person, and you can see that in his work, in the color choices, and the way he composed his piece and organized it. I remember when he was working on this, he had a lot to say about it, and we were talking about it, and he's just got this eloquent thought process about his work. He's always vocal, making connections to his work. Everything he does is very intentional, and it's such a mature thought process for a person who's in 3rd grade. So for him to be really thinking, about his work in a whole, and problem solving, and making intentional color choices, I think those are also really high-level skills that he's synthesizing his work, and he's always been doing that. He's been doing that since he was in kindergarten as well. So, when I made a choice for these two children, I was really thinking about this being the first time we've done this, trying to think of a student who really had that longevity piece. How long they've been working with me and how much effort I see them put into their work. Ryan is a hard worker, and he's not afraid to go outside the box and think in his own direction with a piece of art. So very, very nicely done, and I'm really proud of both of you. So congratulations to you too, Ryan. Did you want to tell them anything about your work?
No.
Hadley, did you have any comments on your piece of art that you want to share? Artists do not like to talk about their work. They expect you to just interpret it on your own. Both of these pieces of art are just outside my office. So every day I step outside the office, I kind of use it as a mirror, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go onto the meeting. We have a little plaque for each of you that Mr. Goff is going to present. Parents, if you want to come down and take a picture close up, please.
And
come
do you
right
guys
down.
want to introduce who's here from your family? Who's with you?
Please.
Would you like to go first, Hadley? Who's here from your
My
family?
mom, my dad, and my brother.
Thank you for coming.
And Ryan, who's here for your family?
My mom and my dad.
Thank you both for coming as well.
Congratulations to both of you. Keep up the good work, okay?
Okay, get right. Big group picture.
Come on in. I don't want to be in the way.
Mr. Goff be in the picture as well? Yes.
Where are we looking first?
Or your parents. All right, and then if we can just have one more or a couple more from over here. Thank you. All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
So board members, it's our intention over the course of this year to introduce you to 2 students from each of the schools who excel in art. Just using this year as a focus on art, among other things. In December, you're going to meet our cross-country team, so we're going to push off the art students from center school until January.
Okay. Thank you, Brett.
Have a great night. Thank you for coming.
Liaisons. We have a couple of Board of Finance members here tonight, Mr. Turner and Mr. Hines. Where'd he go? There he is.
I'm not a liaison, just...
No, but as Board of Finance, you guys are here. If there's anything you want to share on behalf of, or from the Board of Finance?
I just have one word. I'm just wondering if you got any communication with Tribal. I've been looking this over and it looks very nice to me. I wish I had that when I was in the class. when I was here in the class of 64, which was the first graduating class from this high school. But good luck with this. I'll try my best. But one of the things we have to do is get a drawing board meeting together. And I don't know if you have any communications at all.
The only thing I have heard is possibly December 10th
Tuesday, December 10th at 5:30
here.
here.
But I haven't heard confirmation of that. I think it was a town council meeting night. So we were going to do, the thought was tri-board here, and then they would stay for their meeting at 6:30.
The
But
room has been reserved. I just need to know if that's the plan.
Okay. I'll talk to my chair and see what happens.
yeah,
Yeah, I
Thank you.
receive,
That's all I have.
I receive agendas from the different boards in town, just on my own. And I was a little bit confused because I saw town council put a tri-board meeting for 6:30 actually on the 10th, and then a special town council meeting the week before on the 3rd. So I haven't talked to anybody about it. I don't know if they moved their meeting. I'm not sure.
so it's a
what
good
that
question,
means.
Ted. We
So
don't
yeah,
know
it's a
yet.
very good question
We'll
because
try
we
to
don't
get some
know.
answers.
Oh,
But some clarity would be good.
okay. Labor Union Representative Neil is here. Good evening. Anything?
Just here to say hi.
Okay.
Thank you.
And now update from our Director of Curriculum, Mary.
This time of year, we're gearing up for our K-5 conferences. So that's based on the K-5 schools run on a trimester system. So in advance of our grade reporting, there's a lot of work and alignment across the grade levels, both vertically and then within those grade level teams. So there's a lot of conversation about the standards to which the teachers have been working, parent communication, and then making sure that as the families come in, teachers are prepared to support the learning process towards year-end goals. So we've been doing a lot of work around that. Also, always looking at our systems and how we can ensure that we're most efficient. Last year, for those of you who are new to the board, we transitioned our teacher evaluation system to a product that aligns with many other tools, which brought some costs down for us, increased efficiencies. And a benefit of that is it also allows us to manage professional learning. So we've been working on rolling out a side of that system that will allow us to automate all of those processes, document carefully all of the investment that the community makes in our teachers, and ensure that we're supporting our teachers towards the areas that they need to grow. We continue to look at curriculum planning in various areas. So I just had a meeting last week with our middle school world language team, who is looking for guidance, as we have had a world language department at the middle school that has gone from being 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, to 6, 7, 8, to 7, 8, and that kind of back and forth. We'd really like to have a set process for our learners in regards to world language, and ensuring that the decisions we make for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade set up our students for success at the high school, and hopefully eventually for us to allow expansion of high school course offerings and having AP world language. So it was really exciting to meet with our middle school team, right now a small but mighty team of 2, who are advocating for all of the ideas and what they think that's going to require to ensure that our students are really prepared for an interconnected and global society. So we continue to look at that. Representatives from each of the buildings met to look at our school climate systems. It's state law, but also best practice to ensure that we have strong climate systems. All of our principals are working on a regular basis to ensure that our school culture and climate is positive. But we also have to have systems for when things are challenging or people have formal concerns. And so we align those practices, identify areas that we want to continue to receive state guidance, and make sure that across the buildings we're planning for that. So we just recently met on that topic. And there is, coming up in 2021, some changes to bullying legislation, which is governed by all of our school climate plans. So that's something, as it gets closer, we can talk with you about, but we're just kind of growing understanding internally right now. Additionally, I shared with you that we launched the Newsella instructional content platform. So we, as I mentioned last meeting, we really finished training all of the core instructional team members at Memorial Center and the middle school, and we're now looking at how we can expand that into some additional areas at the middle school, how there's opportunity for our guidance department to utilize resources there in social emotional learning, as well as health and PE and world language, because the platform allows you also to translate material into other languages and then differentiate the levels. So lots of different activities going on in a number of areas.
Okay. Anyone question for Mary? Okay, we'll turn it over to the schools now.
Thank you. So first, it was great to see the confidence and imagination of Hadley and Ryan on display. Thank you for recognizing their work. Recently at Memorial, we had the J-Line Dance Crew, which was a PTO celebration for the Jogathon efforts. It was a full-on concert effect for the kids, so it was great to see how happy they were to all be together and do some fun singing and dancing. We do have Magical Monday coming up on December 2nd, so if you feel like getting all fancied up and coming down to the Cheetah Cafe, please join us for that magical experience. As Mrs. Clark mentioned, the parent conferences are coming up, so grades have closed, teachers are working hard to prepare the grades and the comments, and we're really looking forward to meet with families and celebrate their learners' growth to this point in the year. Before we go on break, there will be a turkey trot for our kindergarten classrooms. They'll be parading through our hallways as a culminating activity from a unit, from an activity called Turkey Trouble. They read a book and now they're going to be creating a disguise to prevent themselves from being found through the hallways. So if you're looking for something cute to do Wednesday before Thanksgiving, please stop by. And I just got an email from Superintendents to let me know that the Memorial and Center Unified teams have been awarded the Unified Champion School designation. So it comes with an $800 stipend for uniforms, events, and equipment.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, I was in one of the Unified Sports sessions today, and partnering with the Learning Center has just been an amazing experience for some of those high school students, just taking leadership, and some of the adults that are running the program are now stepping back. So it's great to see over the course, this has been our second year of the partnership with the Learning Center, just the connection that they've made. They actually went online and looked up different activities that they wanted to implement themselves within the class, and they did that today with much success. So it's been a great program, and hats off to Super as well. Connecticut Salmon River Association dropped off a 15-year in the program award, so thanks for them. And a closer look, the date on the actual certificate was from 2017, so we're actually in year 17 of the program. So actually continuing
Just stay a little behind, you know.
So we're picking back up with that. The eggs get dropped off in January, and then we'll begin that process again. I'd like to thank the East Hampton Lions Club for running the vision screening this past week. Extremely smooth process. It's always nice to partner with the Lions Club. And I had a former student when I was assistant principal at the middle school, who's now a Xavier student, Jake Oliva, stopped by today. I'm helping with his Eagle Scout projects and mentoring him through trying to implement a program at center school. So he had reached out and decided that with his robotics team, he wants to come and help out center school. He heard of our STEM lab, so he's looking to run some sessions with some of the robotics team members, as well as partnering with the Rotary Club to run a fundraiser to add supplies and different technology to our STEM lab.
Very nice.
Okay, a week and a half ago, we had our parent conferences, our student-centered conferences for 6th and 7th grade, as well as our capstone proposal conferences for our 8th graders. Everything went very well, it was very highly attended. The feedback we got from both staff and students, especially for the capstones, it's just exciting to see the kids be excited for their own projects and their own presentations. We had our PBIS assembly at the end of the quarter as well, with a record turnout of students able to attend that at 99.3%. So literally I had 3 students that were asked to revisit some of the expectations and attend a different assembly activity at that time. So it's a very positive experience. We got a lot of good feedback. Staff really jumped in and provided a wealth of choice for students to be able to have for that time at the end of the day. Last Friday, we had a mental health and mental wellness advisory, really talking to kids on 2 points: how they can manage their own mental wellness, as well as if they happen to notice a friend or another student that may be struggling, what are some of the outlets and what are some of the people that you can connect them with, so that you're not trying to take that burden on as a student, but you're utilizing the resources around you, such as guidance or any one of the teachers at the building. The turkey plunge I think I'm still recovering from it. One of the coldest turkey plunges we've had. Hats off to Trish Seeley and the Early Act Club. They won another trophy this year for the biggest group participating in turkey plunge. So we had several students there, both helping with registration, jumping in the water, and some just cheering us on. Wow. Smart. The smarter kids are just. Go ahead, Mr. Williams, jump in the water.
Yeah, why not?
Let's see. I think another highlight from the past few weeks, we partnered with Early Act, partnered with Hope Church to kind of do a little partnership with Hope Church. They allowed us to host once again the Night to Shine event for students with special needs having a prom in our school. So that'll be in February, I believe February 6th. And they appreciated us allowing them to be there so much. They said, we're having a community service day on Sunday in place of Mass. Is there anything you could use us to help for? We said, well, we have a new bike trail that we're trying to clear. And I think we managed to get about 50 volunteers out there Sunday morning, and almost the entire trail is cleared. Over a mile's worth of trail was cleared in a few hours. So it's like any hands make light work. The bike trail, and one of the students at the school is taking on as a capstone project to really be committed to getting the trail up and running and to having our very first competitive bike race at the school this spring. So it's well underway. We're doing a GPS mapping of it tomorrow afternoon. And Mr. Harwood, I have to hats off to him and Brian Holt from Airline Cycles have been instrumental in helping this young man get his project up and running. And last but not least, I'm going to be having a kind of breakfast parent grade book conversation December 6th at 7:30 in the morning with snacks and coffee provided. So anybody that's interested in coming and sharing their perspectives on grading, we'd be welcome you all.
So the high school, this past Friday, we had our fall frenzy, which used to be March Madness. Everybody survived, none of the administrators got hurt. And it was great. It was a well-attended event. We had a really fun time playing basketball against each other with some of our students. And the kids really seemed to enjoy that. I think Andy and Chris really enjoyed their role of leading their students. High school kids were a little bit more competitive than I realized, but it was a great event, and it really helped out the PTO and their scholarship fund. We had a great fall concert this past week, very, very well attended. And sitting next to Mr. Smith at a music concert is a treat because he can give you a critique of the entire concert while you're there. You can learn a lot. And tomorrow night is our senior dinner at Glastonbury Country Club, and we're looking forward to that as well. And then it's Thanksgiving.
Very nice. Okay. Questions for any of the schools? Okay, good job. All right. Next up we have is the subcommittees, but I figured I'll do it now before we do that. Last Friday was the CAPE conference down in Groton. Let's see, Mary, Paul, Chris, Andy, Nancy, and I were there. So this is the book I'll leave out. East Hampton Board of Ed is recognized in here, and this was the weekend program that they had. It was a weekend-long event. But the best part was we got to have our picture taken with the Commissioner of Education, and who presented us with our plaque for the Board of Education, our first year. We have level 1, they call it, right?
Level 1,
Level 1.
Board of Distinction.
For high standards, dedication, and teamwork.
I think they're expecting you to achieve it for the next 11
Yes.
years as well.
So, you guys that just got on, get ready. It's expected, we keep doing this. So this is gonna go to Paul, and in a few months, when we move into the new Town Hall Board of Ed building, hopefully there'll be a 1.5 by 1.5 spot that we can put this.
I think we can squeeze a place in for this.
Yes.
Especially if you're committed to adding 11 more little years on top of that.
Yeah. Okay, so that was that. That was a good day. Subcommittees. All right, so we have 3. I heard from a lot of you kind of ideas you'd like to be. We have personnel, policy, curriculum, and then the finance, transportation, buildings, and grounds. That's the long one. So for policy and curriculum, and I just put names down if you don't want it, let me know now, we'll change, that's okay. But so policy curriculum, I had Jeff, Martha, and Jim. You were just at policy tonight. I don't know how you feel about staying there.
Fine with me.
Okay, does that work for you? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Personnel, I had myself, Mark, and Amanda. Is that good?
Yeah.
And then the finance, transportation, building and grounds, Amy, Nancy, Lori, who's not here, but so I'll say yes to her, and Mark. That's good. Okay. Sorry.
And Mark's is Mark.
Mark's a glove.
Is that all right?
Yes.
And you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to. Yes, I heard from him, he wants to. So that's good with everyone, that's what we have. Okay, thank you, everybody. And you know you're welcome to go to any of them, just because you're not on it. You can still go, so. Good, 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 good. And we're good. Open it up to audience and citizens. Any comments?
Are we on the docket for that banner?
You are, I know Superintendent's going to talk about that in his report.
Yes.
Yeah, unless there's anything
You
else.
can wait, it's an agenda item.
Yeah. Unless you wanted to add anything to it. Okay.
No, I just wanted everybody had said.
Okay. No one else, hearing none, we move on. Motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mark, second. Amanda, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Committee reports, we are down one who is feeling ill, I hear, but Robert is here.
All right, so last week, the business club ran their annual food drive for the local food bank in the spirit of Thanksgiving. And a great deal of canned goods and non-perishables were donated by staff and students. This week, students are also participating in the Poetry Out Loud competition. Those who are selected as classroom winners will participate with winners from their grade level, and those selected will continue to move further through the competition. As far as athletics, the girls soccer team concluded their season in the quarterfinals of the state championship on Saturday, November 16th against Litchfield. Fall sports awards were last Wednesday. Athletes that stuck out to coaches were honored with plaques and awards. The boys cross country team was honored with a banner that would be placed in the gym as recognition for their state championship. And Jake Ireland was presented the plaque too for his state championship. And the night was the final way to kind of recognize the senior athletes and say goodbye to them. And winter athletics are going to start with the next upcoming weeks.
Alrighty. Wow, okay. Any questions, anybody? Good? Okay. Personnel has not met. Policy curriculum, you met this evening. Anything good?
We just started going through the 9,000s.
Okay.
A group of policies.
And I know finance has not met, but I know when we talked last time, was there going to be a meeting coming up soon?
We're not going to have time to have a meeting prior to the capital meeting.
Okay.
However, Rich and Dawn will present either at this meeting or to capital. Because the capital meeting is next Wednesday,
Yeah.
the 4th, at 10, I think? Does that sound right? 10 o'clock at the town hall. Karen, is it 10?
I didn't even see Karen back there. Hi, Karen.
I think that's right.
I'm pretty sure it's 10 o'clock next Wednesday. So
Are you
members
available
of
for
the Finance Committee, you are welcome to go to that meeting. Mark will be representing the board. It is at 10 at the town hall.
10 o'clock on Wednesday.
And Rich and Dawn and I and Mary and Karen are still finalizing what both of them are interested. We have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9. We have Rich's preliminaries and we're looking forward to Dawn's. We'll share that with the board prior to the first meeting, but Dawn and Rich will be there next Wednesday as well.
Are they doing it in the town hall again?
Town hall.
Yeah. Okay. And other liaisons, we have learned, and we had a volunteer that wanted to be our rep for Learn, Ms. Amy. Thank you very much.
Very excited.
And Amy, you have received emails from them, correct?
I have.
Good.
Yep, I'm all set. December 12th at 9 a.m. is the first meeting. So.
Excellent.
Yep. Well, my.
And I said if you want, I may be able to go with you that morning, your first one. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Turn over to the superintendent's report.
So I think I included policy 9133 in your packet. Amy had brought up the notion of an additional subcommittee meeting, but rather than create that as a permanent standing committee, the board does have the option of advisory committees or special committees, which can be formed as needed and then dissolved upon completion. So if you were interested, that might meet the needs of I think you were talking public relations or communications, especially around budget time. So if you are interested in that, you can, this policy allows the formation of that. It does not need to be one of your standing policies. And it could start in January and go through the budget season, should you wish to proceed in that manner. Or you are always welcome to make it one of your standing committees.
And that's subject to the line rules too?
Yeah, we can't have more than,
It would act as, it would meet like a regular committee. We would be required to post agendas and minutes and everything of it. But then it would just be dissolved upon, after referendum 1 when the budget passes.
yeah, if we wanted to do that, or the option of making it an ongoing.
Nobody
I found this in my pile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was really interesting reading about the whole
Yes.
communications and PI. I don't know if everybody, if it's a new publication that just came, or if it's been around for a while. But there was really good
It's kind of new.
kind of building blocks in here about doing.
So any thoughts, anybody? Amelia, you missed last time. We talked about, Amy had the idea of having like a communication, public relations subcommittee to help, not just for budget time, but a lot around budget, but other things happening in the schools. So,
you're saying that we can only have a certain number of standing committees, or what?
yeah, if we can't have more than 4, because 5 would be a quorum.
Oh,
4 people.
Four people on the committee.
okay, all right.
Yes, 4 people.
Okay.
We could make it a, like this one, an advisory special committee, or make it a permanent part of our subcommittee structure. Any opinions, thoughts?
What would we be aiming to do? Just coordinate,
Whether it be
communication with
press releases,
public.
announcements, upcoming events, news, kind of a lot I see is piggybacking on what the schools are doing and all their weekly notices that they're doing. But this could be geared coming from the board, any new policies, dates.
And aimed more towards the community in general. I mean, parents aren't the only ones who are voting on the budget,
Yeah.
and I think we need to take a larger role in communicating what's happening in the school system so that they can make, a good decision on
Yeah.
our budget. So,
How does that work within our communication policies? Where it does state that the superintendent and the chairman are responsible for making that type of communication on behalf of the district and the board? How does it work? How would it work? What happens? Like, say that we're on the subcommittee and we talk, we have this idea and we want to write a little blurb for the River East every month or every week. That subcommittee acts like every other and brings that to the full board to vote on, and then how does the chair then designate that
question.
committee? Like, I don't know the nitty gritty of the actual operation of it. I love the idea. Just want to make sure that, we
well, I think it's probably good that we're reviewing the 9,000.
figure it out, right?
I know unfortunately we don't have a lot of time, budget is coming.
Right.
it started. So.
You want to
why
make
don't-
sure that if you have a public relations committee, that the committee is speaking for the entire board and not for one or two members
Right,
of
exactly.
Yeah.
the committee. So, superintendent would be ex officio on that board, and, I mean, anything that was planned to be communicated could be shared with all members of the board through the superintendent via email, with the expectation that if we don't hear from you in 24 hours, and the board chair says yes, it will go out. But I think, I think what Amy is thinking of is,
Putting facts
specifically
out.
around budget, getting facts out, getting
Yeah.
information out to as
Yeah.
broad an audience as possible. So a lot of the information would just come directly from the budget.
And you would be the one that would be disseminating that information, where, once the board says, okay, yes, we want
I think
it
you
out.
want it to come from an official channel rather than a
Yes.
single board member.
Yeah.
So it would be on behalf of the superintendent and the board. This
Yes.
committee is going to represent the board, which allows you to send out any information. It can be positive information, it can be vote yes, vote yes, vote yes, until the town council sets an official referendum date.
And then we're done.
Then the only information can be date and
Dates and time,
location
yeah.
of.
Does that apply to the Board of Education also, or just?
It applies to the Board of Education if you are using
As a
town-funded email, computers, etc.
Okay.
So it depends on the nature of communication. It could not be anything, in fact, we can't even use Facebook to communicate any referendum information after the date is set. We can use, as long as there's a standard regular newsletter. So in the superintendent's update, the only thing I can put on in the update is the time, date, and location, because that's a regular newsletter. In the body of the email that the newsletter is contained, I can't even put any information in that. It must be embedded in the newsletter.
Once that date is set.
And
Individual board members do not lose their First Amendment rights. So Amy Odonis, on your webpage and your social media accounts, you can say, I am a member of the Board of Education, I am urging you to vote yes, no, or whatever. You don't lose your First Amendment rights. But speaking on using the Board of Ed Facebook pages, the school Facebook pages, school email, we can't put out any information. I'll be glad to review that with the Public Relations Committee if and when formed.
So I would suggest, why don't we, in looking at the time constraints, why don't we start a special committee now? And then once we get through this trial, if we want to continue, then we can make it a permanent one.
that sounds great.
Okay. So we don't need a vote. Do we have people interested in being part of this special subcommittee?
There's at least one.
I know there's Amy.
I'm interested.
Nancy. Who was that?
Martha.
Martha, great. I think
When would it be likely to meet? It's not that I'm not interested, I'm just.
probably, depending on schedules, could be mornings, could be prior to a regular meeting. And that'll be whoever we get interested, they will be the ones to determine the time.
Well, I will hold off and see what, because
Okay.
I don't have a lot.
Gotcha,
to give,
yeah.
so.
I mean, that would be good if we have Amy, Nancy, and Martha right now. Start that.
Well,
That's wonderful.
So could you communicate with the three of them?
Yes.
And
We'll likely start in January,
ASAP.
December.
And figure out times.
Let's
that
have a
works for the
budget.
group.
Karen and I need several weeks of being locked in a room. You'll hear screaming and shouting from Karen and laughing from me. And we'll come out with a budget at the end of by January. And then I'll be in touch as far as
Schedule that
possible
with them.
times. Sure.
Perfect. Thank you. Good. Okay.
The next two items are kind of combined. We had talked, Mr. Verner's done some research on the athletic shed, and then I also included policy 1325, and you may only have the first page.
Yep, one page. Two-sided.
Two-sided, okay, I only have one page.
Okay, so here.
So that's okay. But if you have any questions, this policy was updated March 11th, 2019. It does allow for the purchase of banners to be placed, for example, on the outfield fence. If a company wants to sponsor the baseball team and make a donation to the school and/or the boosters, as long as the principal and superintendent find the banner appropriate, and it doesn't promote anything that we would not want it to promote, you have approved the opportunity for advertising. Mr. Vernon, did you want to give an update on the shed?
Well, I met very shortly after our last board meeting with Mr. Cosio, who was kind enough to join us this evening, and trying to get on the same page of just how we would go about, supporting the baseball team, but also on a broader scale, things that would support the entire entity of our athletic program. Well, I think it's important that we look at how we're working together with the Booster Club. That's something that we also discussed, as we want to be cognizant of the fact that they're working really hard to support all our athletes. And then, Mr. Cosio is very open, and you comment as well, he's very open to supporting all the programs, but clearly, he doesn't want to do some things for the baseball program. I talked to Don Harwood about one of the things we discussed was a shed that would be used for storage of both baseball and potentially some other athletic equipment, and then working with Don to make sure that it's in the right spot. And everything's very preliminary, just to keep that all in mind. So we're at the very preliminary stages of that, and that's kind of where we left it. Do you agree, or?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The only oddball things that does get approved, I guess, would be a couple of things. One, I guess you would limit the size of the banner itself, I'm guessing, say no more than 10 feet high. Whatever. You can make up some numbers, I'm assuming, and that'd be fine. You just wouldn't by that guideline.
Well, we could also say, the longer it is, the more the donation should be. Willing to negotiate that particular point for the benefit of all involved.
Karen's rubbing off on you.
We did talk about it. If I went to Clover Farms, I was up in Summers, pick up some wood bats. On my way back, I stopped at Clover Farms and Barnyard, and I got some prices on 12 by 20, good size, whatever. Surprisingly, I said, we're going to put your banner on the side of this thing. What do you do for us? They didn't care. I was very surprised. We don't need a banner. It's 20% off. Oh, that's all right. So I walked out, and a big sign there, everything's 25% off. So, it was a little weird. So I can still work on that for you. As far as if the shed's approved, again, I can take care of looking into it once we agree what size and everything else. It's not a problem. The only thing when I ask that is going to come up is we're in the sports boosters. This is Kathy, my wife. And we're also in an upstart group, East Hampton Baseball. We're so upstart, we don't have a name. And East Hampton Baseball is parents of the baseball team now who want to get more money into baseball. Now, that group is not going to be like, hey, let's get money for soccer. They don't care. They want to get money for baseball. They want helmets and uniforms, sheds and batting turtles. So they want this booster thing. They want this banner thing to raise money for all that stuff. So Kathy and I are kind of like, it might have to go through sports boosters. We're not 100% sure. You know what I mean? So I guess I need an answer from you as far as, are you going to allow outside, whatever the word is, an outside group to control that, or does it need to go through sports boosters? Is it either you get banners through sports boosters, or you don't get banners at all? It's one of those situations. You know what I'm saying?
And that's probably a conversation for board chair, myself, principal, and athletic director to have. What I don't want to do is, obviously some of the sports, as well as music, have a booster club very much dedicated to them.
Yeah.
And I don't want to prevent them from being able to raise funds if the banner thing works out well.
Yeah.
But I think all of us are concerned about, are we dovetailing on top of each other? Are we stepping on each other's toes? What's the best way to go about things?
Yeah, because if it was through sports boosters, in my mind, we could go to a company and say, hey, $300 gets you a banner on the baseball field, $500 gets you a banner on the baseball field and the soccer field, $700 gets you a softball field, soccer field, and baseball field.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's through sports booster. If I go through this outside group, They're gonna go, no, all money goes to baseball. So whatever you guys decide on that, we're gonna be fine. I'm not gonna stop working towards it because you say screw the other side of the team, I really don't care. I'll take $2,000 for baseball versus $0 for baseball any day. So, yeah, if you could talk about that as far as who's gonna be allowed to do this banner program. Just let us know.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to the individual groups raising money and going out and doing the work, because, people aren't gonna just come to us and say, here's $1,000 and here's my banner. Somebody is gonna have to go out and convince them that they wanna have a banner up. And I know that what we don't want is, a banner would be allowed for that season only.
Yes.
And not for multiple years, so all of a sudden, we've got 85 banners along the back. It would be, we would limit it to its location on the, the outfield fence or
Sure.
some other appropriate place. But I think we can come up with a solution that's most appropriate.
Just since you mentioned it, I'm gonna throw it out there. Baseball's played on the field through high school and through Parks and Rec. I coach juniors up there, and there's a Twilight League up there as well. So it would be nice if we could, as we're advertising this to people, it's either we say, hey, your banner's going to go up there for 3 months for the high school, or it's going to go up there for 6 months to cover high school juniors, and you know what I'm saying? So
Sure, and those are things that, if you want it up for 6 months, it may be a little more expensive than if you want it up for 3 months, and yeah, absolutely.
Geez, you should be marketing.
I know. Yeah. Okay, all right, so we got all those things.
We'll call you, we'll plan to meet with us, we'll set that up.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
And whatever's decided, I'll bring to the board so you understand.
Yeah, no, let me know when and where. Yep.
I'm also willing to wear a patch on the side of my jacket or pins or anything from any company who wants, to be on the
Enrollment report.
Just so you know, the golf tournament, Sports Boosters, and I apologize for looking like this. Sports Booster Golf Tournament, I got it. So Fox Hop Yard, June 29th, it's a Monday.
That's my birthday.
It's going to be the whole 9 yards, the lunch, the dinner. Fox operates a really, really nice course. A lot of goofy things going on there. As long as they approve it, I still have to meet with the guy. But $160 per player, and then it goes down from there, $150 if we bring 4 players.
Send me the information when you have it, I'll make sure the community gets it.
So anybody wants to play golf, please do.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
June 29th. Mr. Lehman will be there in rare form, I'm sure.
We're already talking about it.
Okay.
That's my birthday. I can go celebrate there. You're right.
So to our new board members, each month Rosemary puts together an enrollment report. They're at your seats tonight. What we do is the top section is just a running tally of how many students in each grade. The bottom section is set kind of so you can compare it over the course of the year. And if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer that as well. October 1 enrollment is the official enrollment for the state. Anything that changes, and usually there's minor changes, 1 or 2 students will move out, 1 or 2 students move in, but basically the enrollment that you see in October becomes our enrollment roughly for the year. Plus or minus 2 or 3 students.
Any questions on those? Okay, now we have a budget presentation.
So I'm going to ask the principals to come down. We're going to do a very quick run through of this budget. For audience members, we do have a copy of this here. If you did not get a copy, they're right down on the table here.
Thank you. I know you're like yourself here.
So this document that you have represents all of the requests that were made in this room on Monday night, October 28th, by members of the public, students, teachers, parents all came and asked for us to consider items in the budget. In addition to that now, it now represents all requests, those requests plus requests that came through the traditional fill in this request form, hand it to the principal forwards it to the superintendent. While this is 11 pages long, and you know, I'm glad that people take the time to ask of us the things that they would want. There's two things that you should know about this document. When you read this, there is nothing in here that is so far out of the realm of possibility that we look at it and say, wow, our kids just don't need that at all. Or this isn't the time for that. That's the first thing. The second thing you'll need to realize is when I give you the budget in January, you're going to see about 5 or 6 of these 11-page items in there. You're not going to see everything that you hear tonight is not going to make it into the budget. So as excited as the principals are going to be about convincing you of their top choices in the budget, which I've starred with a yellow star, they're just not all going to make it into next year's budget. We're doing one exercise further, and those items that have a red star next to them are items that I really feel propel this district forward. And if you saw our State of the Schools presentation, these are some of those items that move us closer to hitting that, what we expect education to look like in 2030. I guarantee, though, none of those will be in next year's budget, unfortunately. But I don't mean this to be a negative. I want you to hear from the principals about what they are hoping we see in next year's budget at this point. We're going to start with our staffing requests.
Thanks, Paul. So the first staffing request I'd like to make is for a STEM teacher. Paul connected back to our State of the Schools presentation. We talked a lot about the future of our schools. This is something that many districts already have, and I feel really would move Memorial School forward. I envision making this a related art, a STEM experience that would be guaranteed to all of our learners, with an emphasis on building tech readiness skills and turning our students into producers with technology instead of consumers. Our teachers work really hard to purposefully plan to integrate technology into the classroom. A stumbling block that they encounter many times is our kids don't yet have the tech readiness skills to apply them in the classroom. This STEM position not only would cover that, but then move into research and projects and even get into the coding and pre-engineering. The second one that I'd like to propose is a kindergarten teacher. So for many of our youngest learners, the kindergarten classroom is their first time with other friends. And they go from being at home where they could be one or one of a couple siblings, or maybe they're lucky enough to have our preschool experience and they go from a smaller student-teacher ratio into kindergarten, where some of our classrooms have 20, 21, 22 students. And if we're really trying to build a strong foundation for our youngest learners, they need more small group, one-to-one, personalized learning experiences.
What is the typical kindergarten, what is the ideal kindergarten size, classroom size?
You're asking me, I'm going to give you a very low number. I would say, yeah, in the teens, lower teens would be great.
So 2 years ago, Center School was reduced by 2 sections, one in 4th grade, one in 5th grade, asking to restore a grade 4 teacher. I truly feel that our building staffing level is at a tipping point, but this is absolutely necessary to make sure that we have fidelity with instruction. We're asking our teachers to cover more and more content and not just cover it, but do it well. And the models that we have in instruction and meeting with small groups and trying to make sure that we can have instructional dialogue with each and every student, it is necessary to make sure that we have an appropriate teacher-to-student ratio. With the special education teacher, this is also an area that we know that as a building we need to grow and close that achievement gap. No longer are we in a model where we simply have special education staff that are tied to a building. We want to meet the needs of the group that is coming into the building, and we truly feel that in order to successfully implement the IEPs and support our the students with the biggest needs, that it's appropriate to add a special education teacher at Center School.
So I've said this before, I'll say it again, restoring world language from 2 years ago. We now have 2.4 million minutes collectively amongst our student body this year of study hall time. It's far too much. We want to be able to provide our students a very rich education where they're able to be exposed to world languages even earlier than 6th grade, as I know you'll see in other portions of this budget proposal, but 6th grade at a minimum. So moving us back to 3 world language teachers would be just absolutely critical. The other thing that would also do for us is if we're able to provide a solid foundation of Spanish and French and/or French in middle school, that's going to alleviate some of the high school's ability, if they have another world language teacher, to be able to provide more AP courses and even potentially electives. Restoring the 12-month assistant principal position that was restoring it from 2 years ago as well would be absolutely critical for us to have Mr. Kissinger be able to work with me in the summer. Some of the things that occur during the summer that people aren't aware of, scheduling is probably the biggest component. Scheduling in a middle school is very complex between trying to make sure that you're meeting all the needs of all the students with IEPs, make sure you get proper placement for mathematics, make sure that teachers have full schedules and that everything is done is a pretty daunting task, and to do it in isolation is very difficult. So to be able to work together on that, hiring is always something that we're looking at, and looking at growing our facilities. That would be a key component of the assistant principal's role, is to make sure that the facilities team there in the building are working to their full potential, and then we're also just looking for ways to grow our school system. So that, as anybody knows, takes time, and time is our most valuable commodity. So I'd say those are our 2 biggest priorities right now.
So for the high school, we would start with restoring a math teacher, which was cut from 2 years ago. Math currently has 5 full-time teachers, and the other departments have 6. We have 2 classes in our building, the current sophomore and current junior class, which require 4 years of math. And the vast majority of our math classes are in the 20s to high 20s for our core areas, Algebra 2, Algebra 1, Geometry, the core academic math classes. And this would also allow us to increase some of our AP offerings that we're looking at, as was one of the goals we talked about with 2030. So that would be our first staffing priority. And secondly would be a health teacher. Beginning with the class of 2023, all students need 1 full credit in physical education and 1 full credit in what's called health and safety to graduate. Currently we have 2 full-time teachers in the health and PE department. So to meet the needs of all of our students, we would need to increase our staffing in the health area. And as Mr. Lander just mentioned, he's looking for to restore a world language teacher. A preview to the 2020-21 budget would be a world language teacher at the high school to offer those AP courses. So I'm jumping ahead of you there. I'll give you a preview, but those would be our 2 staffing priorities for this year.
So for special programs in special education, we're looking at expanding our STARS program. Our STARS program is our therapeutic program, which we've been growing from Memorial School, Center School, and Middle School to support students with that require more social, emotional support throughout the day. We've had a lot of success with these programs and supporting our kids in their home school rather than outplacing these students. So they have opportunities to participate in the general education curriculum as they're ready, and eventually move all the way in with their peers. Not only is it good for students, but it's a really large cost avoidance of outplacements, and we've also had the opportunity to have students from other districts join our program, which is also another cost offset. The ABA program, also we've had a really strong program at Memorial. Again, students with developmental delays and disabilities were able to participate with their peers as they're ready and available. So we want to expand those programs to center and middle school by having a special education teacher at the middle school and center school for those programs. And then at Memorial School, we have Dr. Fresco-Hawes, their school psychologist there. We've had school psychology interns in the past. So we get a very large, big bang for our buck by having school psychology interns. The interns are master's level psychologists that need to do a full year before they're earn their six-year certification and are able to go off on their own, so they can really support our students and students with trauma-based difficulties and evaluations throughout the school. And then lastly, we need to increase our occupational therapists by hiring an additional part-time occupational therapist. The needs and services have grown immensely, not only by servicing all of these students with special needs in our home district, but just the needs have grown overall, and without doing that, we need to contract services.
Moving on to some other highlighted priorities at Memorial School, more focused on resources or programming. This year we had two big initiatives that we took on at Memorial School. One was our focused academic support time, where we provide intervention for our students who might need extra support in either reading and now math. We're doing that this year without any formal intervention program. So by adding some resources in a possible program, I think it would really bolster that academic support time. We also have our building goal of math workshop implementation, and we are in dire need of more resources to make that work best. The science resources goes hand in hand with the previous slide that I shared with you about a STEM teacher. So this would get us in the works of developing a STEM lab. With that teaching, and we need the resources to go along with it to give the full experience. We want our kids to be engaged in hands-on activities. Often, this funding could also be used to do a STEM night, do a science fair, and we'd love to bring an Invention Convention Junior to Memorial. We talked about the Makerspace and Coding Lab a little bit with our STEM teacher in the first slide too, but I'd like to focus here on the foundations, spelling and phonics. One of my favorite things so far this year has been visiting the classroom and seeing the kids' language acquisition and, more importantly, their transfer of skills by using the Foundations program. I would like to bring the continuity and consistency right through grade 3.
All right. At Center School, we're looking to change the instructional model in math instruction and move to a workshop style of instruction with. And when you change that instructional model, sometimes you need to change the manipulatives as well as the resources that are provided to students. So we want to build off the foundation of Go Math that we have and make sure that there's a variety of resources for the students available. So if you're thinking of Readers and Writers Workshop, where there's a library where we're able to meet the student with a number of different resources at their level, we're looking to model that and mirror that in mathematics as well. Classroom libraries, so we know that to make readers love reading, we want to make sure that they have eyes on print with texts that are high interest, that are at or just below their level. So we want to expand the classroom libraries to make sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our learners and expanding that very successful program to continue our growth in the area of ELA. And to piggyback off of Mr. Gonzalez, Just Words is kind of that next level with Foundations. This is a tier 2 within the Wilson. It's a multi-sensory approach, but it's building off of the program that we have K2. Do we have it at 3?
Not yet.
So the program that we have K2 that will provide that intervention instruction for our struggling readers, and we can have some coherence in programming K through 5.
These next areas that are highlighted for the middle school are all low cost but extremely high impact. The first two in particular, assistant cheerleading coach and assistant cross country coach. As many of us do on a Monday morning, struggle to find the motivation to get up and out of bed and go to work, so do our students. And providing them an opportunity to have 2 no-cut sports where they can say, hey, today I'm going to be able to go to cheerleading, so I'm going to get up and go to school, or I'm going to go to cross country this afternoon, so I know I need to get up and go to school. For some kids, much like myself, athletics was very important to me. So it provided us opportunities to get our kids involved. I would love to see us get those positions into our budget. The biking club coach, last year we were fortunate enough to get a grant to fund a stipend and fund some equipment for a biking club. For those of you who don't know, we had over 45 students participate in that last year. It also operated as part of a capstone project for one of our seniors, which I believe is going to be happening again. It has been a phenomenal, really grassroots movement in the town. We also won the league last year in our very first year, so we're excited to repeat that this year. We have a lot of up and coming bike riders, and I'd love to be able to see us make sure that we fund that properly. Lastly, Early Act Advisor, as I mentioned, Ms. Seeley. This program has allowed students to participate in community service activities. We have well over 50 students involved in it on a week-by-week basis. They could be doing community service, anything from the turkey plunge to Manny's for a Cure to Relay for Life. It's a wealth of opportunity for our students that maybe are not invested in athletics, but really have a great heart and they want to give back to their community. They have done over several thousand hours of community service over the course of the year, and it's just another great way to teach our kids how to give back to their community.
And at the high school, some of our other priorities, the first two kind of definitely tied together. The robotics course platform would be a VEX robotics equipment, which is kind of the industry standard for robotics competitions. So it would allow us to enhance our current programming and then add to it. And then that VEX robotics platform would allow us to have a competitive robotics club and team, which would compete. It can compete all over the state for students that are interested in that. Next up, we have an online Mandarin language course. One of the goals of 2030 is to allow students to take virtual courses, and Mandarin is one opportunity which will really flourish at our school and give students that chance to take another language that we don't currently offer. And then, as we want to continue to offer some of our AP courses with the goal of all students taking a higher level course, offering AP Human Geography for grades 10 through 12 next year, if we were able to offer that course.
Just one thing, that just to narrate, just to let you know the status of some of why we're trying to move things ahead. You know, you look at the robotics course platform and the robotics team. We currently offer tech ed courses, and Mary and I met with the tech ed teacher today and asked her to talk about the possibilities that are in here for kind of changing from a traditional tech ed, which still does CAD and mechanical drawing, and moving that into pre-engineering. And one of the things she talked about in our robotics courses, we are using the same robots that they use in grades K through 8. We just are not using what high school students should be exposed to in robotics. So the idea of having a robotics team is, in order to have the appropriate course and an appropriate team, you've got to have the standard that they're using at team competitions and in business in Connecticut at this point. But what I heard that we're using, you know, the little kits that our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders using at the high school for a course that meets every day. She said you just can't even do what's appropriate for robotics. So it just shows you that we have some leaps to take. Speaking of leaps, everything that in this document, when you have time, everything that's yellow starred, the gentleman just gave you a kind of a sense of. But I asked them to go through when we met last week, and I said, pick out something that is not out of the realm of what other schools are currently offering, but something that would propel our schools forward.
So in one of the highlighted priority sections, I spoke to you about our focused academic support time and the lack of programs to carry that out. So this would fill that void. We use iReady currently as a diagnostic tool at the elementary school, and it provides us with a wealth of data, but if we had instructional seats for our students during that focused academic support time, each of our learners would have a personalized learning platform that data would give them learning targets and lessons to go along with those learning targets, then give them assessments, and that would give us real-time data to be able to give one-on-one instruction or small group instruction to our learners. I feel it would be a really valuable tool to close achievement gaps and provide targeted instruction at Memorial.
So for mastery of a language and to set students up for success with AP courses at the high school, it really begins at the elementary level. You know, it is a little bit disappointing that this is kind of in that stretch area within the presentation. I know that a lot of you know, our students and community members feel that this should be a foundational type of program in East Hampton Public Schools. So we are looking to add a world language teacher, not just for the language exposure, but also for the multicultural teaching and learning.
This is something very exciting for me. STEM, being a former math and science teacher, is near and dear to my heart. So feel free to close your eyes if you want. We can talk this through, visualize it. This is again something for 2030. Looking forward, what I would propose is that we hire 3 more teachers, a language arts teacher, a math teacher, and a science teacher. And we would build basically a STEM academy within East Hampton Middle School. Each grade level would have a group of students on it, roughly 20 to 25 students that would be on this particular team of teachers. Each one of these teachers would teach 1 6th grade, 1 7th grade, 1 8th grade science course, science, language arts, or math course according to their certification. And it would just be an elevated level of technology use, elevated level of blended learning, and the last 2 classes that these teachers would then be able to teach. Each teacher teaches 5 classes, 3, 6, 7th, 8th. The last 2, we could offer some high-level electives, a botany course, a technical writing course for language arts, a binary coding course for math. There's a lot of opportunities to provide some enrichment and really allow us to put East Hampton Middle School on the map. Again, I understand, I wish we had those virtual reality glasses, but maybe that's in next year's budget, and we can come back to this again and really revisit it. But I think one of the other financial benefits of this is that some of the students that are currently going and attending magnet schools might look at this as an opportunity to come back to their hometown, their home community school, and potentially be able to reinvest their education here. Thank you.
So, kind of tailoring off what Jason said about a school within a school. Project Lead the Way, which is a series of engineering courses, would allow us to transform our technology education department. And when I say technology education department, that's our department of 1 teacher. But the goal of that would be to offer higher level engineering courses and design courses that are all tied into the NGSS standards, so it would work from not only an engineering perspective, but a science perspective. And that would allow for careers in these fields after they graduate. And then a UConn ECE course in medical terminology, which would allow us to help meet some of the requirements of the health and wellness credits the state's asking us for, but also again another field that would allow our students to be prepared when they walk out of the doors of East Hampton High School to enter into the medical field. And then I guess in closing, when we talked about all these plans, you can kind of see the thoughtfulness of each school building upon one another. With the world language as an example at the younger grades, the middle school, and then eventually at the high school. So it would really allow us over time to build into what's a really great vision for the East Hampton Public Schools.
Just go back to this slide for a minute and imagine us telling 7th and 8th graders, after year 6th grade where we introduce you to a multitude of options, in 7th and 8th grade, if you so choose, you could be in a STEM academy that really focused on science, technology, engineering. Or perhaps you want to focus on humanities that would have 2 world languages and extra reading and language arts courses. Or perhaps you're more focused on the arts, but so in addition to all the regular classes you would take, you'd get extra time with music, theater arts, etc. That's the type of programming that we should be presenting to this community. And we're still catching up. If you recall some of the earlier slides where most of the positions that we're asking for restore a math teacher, restore a grade 4 teacher, restore a world language teacher. So we're not at the point where we can say we can transform education very quickly in this community, but we're still backpedaling, trying to catch up from losing 8 teachers 2 years ago, gaining 2 back, but losing them again last year. So basically throughout the district, we are 8 teachers shy. If we were holding on to them, we would be talking to you about things like this for next year, not just as a pipe dream. Does anybody have any questions for any of the principals or Ron?
Yes, I had one. I was looking, high school.
Yes.
The online language, is that in here? I was looking for it, and what that translates to dollar-wise.
Yes,
Did I miss it?
It is on page
That would be in the section with world
Page
languages?
5.
Yeah.
It's right here. The second one.
There it is, okay. I did miss it.
There's a couple different ways we could do online courses. If it was 2 or 3 students, we could purchase seats through virtual high school. It's about $500 seats.
Yeah.
If we felt like there was a class of 18 to 20 students, there's a program that Mr. Berner is aware of
From proximity learning?
From proximity learning, so we've given you both options. So there's a couple options depending on student interest.
If I could go quick with the high school up there, what kind of interest in that area has there been in the last year or two? Have kids been asking about that type of availability?
For virtual learning?
Yeah.
We have had students, like a couple each year, and their families pay for various different online. So
Okay.
that's something that certainly is happening, probably a couple of students each year.
Yeah.
Between junior and senior year.
Just because it's not offered. If it was offered, do you think that number would go up quite a bit?
So in my previous district, we began this program. The first year we ran it with Mandarin 1, we had 5 students. And then as students really engaged in it, we worked its way up to a 3-year program. And when I left, the Mandarin 1 class had 22 students in it. And then, we had a 2-year world language requirement, so 22, and then about half of that number chose to go on into level, so the 3rd year of the program. So we were, you have to build, we built it and it continues to grow.
What is the staffing requirement for an online class? Is there supervision?
So the way it would work is that you work with the company, and if you meet the minimum requirements, if you have more than 10 students, you have your own class. So say we had 12. All we would need is an adult in the room, and the fee we pay goes to the teacher, so it's a virtual course. They meet with the teacher 2 to 3 times a week, and then the 3rd or 4th time a week is what's called office hours, very much like a college course. Students are expected to do the work. And what we would need is someone to monitor the students in the room, take attendance, and plug grades into PowerSchool because they have their own portal. And the only other cost, it's like a connector, you need a headset and a connector, and it's like a $12 item per kid. And that was something because they're a disposable item, we're not going to reuse the headsets, we passed that. That was the fee to take the course. You bought your own headsets, but they could do it through a Chromebook, which our students have.
Through virtual high school, the students would not be engaged in lifetime learning. So everything would be uploaded to a portal by a teacher. They'd have to submit lessons each week. But we would want an adult who would be the contact in case a student was falling behind. Typically with virtual high school, there is some adult who gets the progress report each week. And so the online teacher says, this student has everything in, this student is missing 2 assignments. It's all based on weekly submission.
And we have the staff to cover that aspect of it, or would that be included in what we're asking?
It depends.
I mean, we've had it.
We can do it as a segment, or we can make it someone's duty period or something.
Instead of studying all that, could be their duty period.
And then another question, if I could. Rodney, the occupational therapy, part-time. Hours a week you're looking for that role?
Yeah, 0.4.
Okay.
Chris had a question.
I don't know if I can speak or not.
I think I'll let you.
So sorry.
I know, he's mortified.
Principal brought it up. What were those hours for study halls?
2.4 million minutes.
Okay, and that's because either the student doesn't have an interest in classes, or you just don't have the personnel.
So that's exactly it. I can share with you how that came to be. So
One thing or another.
because of the loss in world language,
Yeah.
as well as the restructuring of language arts last year, we now have an abundance of study halls once the referendum didn't pass, and we did not have that world language teacher in that position. So at the beginning of the year, we were at roughly 75 study halls throughout the course of the school, throughout a week. Numerically, if you want me to kind of share with you the calculation, it's about 45 minutes per study hall. We have 461 students. It's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are a little bit different, but if you indulge me, it's roughly 150 students per grade level. 6th graders have about, on average, 4 study halls per week. 7th graders on average 4 study halls per week, and 8th graders average 2 study halls per week. The reason why they have significantly less is we wanted to make sure we gave an adequate offering of world language to 8th graders, so that if they did do substantially well, they could be recommended for Spanish 2 or French 2 when they went into high school, thus not putting them too far behind. With those decisions in mind, The number of study halls that needed to be covered was substantial. The number of minutes and the number of students, as you can imagine, that are in there over the course of a whole year, those numbers multiply very quickly. The other implication that that's had this year is because now we have so many study halls, staff members need to take on those study halls as duties. Therefore, our team model, where we have our team of teachers that basically takes care of a group of students, they are no longer they are able to only meet once a week during the school day. So they had to then push out their team meetings to after school, which then of course pushes out the ability to have department meetings, faculty meetings, and all kinds of other types of even just getting together with coaches is a big significant part, as well as just being able to collaborate with your counterpart and have time to do that. So it's been a pretty big domino effect for us this year. And we're just trying to be as creative as possible and working through it and making the best of it. I hope that adequately answered your question.
Yeah, I just hope that Mrs. Smith tells the finance board and the council during budget time what you just said.
I'll bring Jason.
Yeah, testimonials.
I have one more question for Mr. Mosher. Is it possible that the high school STARS position could be self-funding with students being brought in from other districts?
We actually anticipate that at least one of the positions you saw would be self-funded.
Okay.
We haven't determined where it will be yet, but yes.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. In terms of right now, there are 2 out-of-town placements in our program.
It is fluid.
Yes.
Next week will.
Okay, great. So is there any foresight projection on next year? Other interest from areas?
No, but we have other schools asking us to visit so they can model our programs.
Oh. Sell it to them, as Paul would say.
Charge them.
Yep, charge them. Fee, consulting fees. Yep.
Yep.
Very good job, guys. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions for them before we move on for the schools? Budget? No? Okay. Moving on, we have our unfinished business. We had a set of policies last time we did a first read on. There was one that had a question, wasn't it? Which one did we discuss last time? Was it the first one, the budget and expense report? Remember we had a discussion on one last time?
Yeah, I think we did talk about that one.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't think anyone was looking for change of wording.
No, it was just some clarification, yeah, okay. Policy committee? You want to say anything about these 4?
Well, I mean, I think we.
5, I should
We
say.
talked about them last time, didn't we? And nothing.
Nothing's changed? No?
Yes, and to save paper, typically we don't reprint copies of them for the second read, just to be a little conservative with the paper.
So, we can't bundle, can we? Can we bundle? Second reading policy? No, we'll do individual. Yeah. All right, so the first one is motion to accept the recommended regulation 3432, budget and expense report.
So,
Mark, second. Amanda, discussion on that one? All those in favor? Aye. Second is to accept the recommended policy 4112.5, security check fingerprinting. Motion. Amy, second.
I'll second.
Nancy, discussion on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, to accept the recommended policy 4112, student teachers. Motion to accept that policy. Amanda, second. Ooh, Nancy, she beat you to it. Discussion? Question?
I do have a question.
Yes.
The agenda has it as 4112. Unless I'm looking at the wrong one, it looks like it's 4122.
Well, you have the policy, yeah, you're gonna bring
Right,
that
just
original
the-
one.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
okay. Probably is wrong.
In the package you gave us last week.
Last time.
Second page.
Second page, you said?
Oh, sorry. Yes, that should read 4122.
Okay, so Amanda, you wanna modify your motion to make it that policy
Sure.
4122? And you're gonna second that and then it okay. Thank you, Mark, for picking that up, you know?
It's a number.
It's a number, Mark found it, yep. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, to accept the recommended policy 4131, professional learning. Motion to approve. Nancy, Amanda seconds.
Yes.
Questions on that policy?
I do have one question on that. The additional language relative to human trafficking. So as the way I'm reading it, it's just the training is a video presentation. They're not moving, to anyone's knowledge, are they moving anywhere towards like a mentor reporting type of requirement in this context? I mean, I know it's kind of
Yeah. I don't know
If
about
there
that.
was a situation where youth were involved, it would require, and somebody knew it would require a report to
So
DCF
the
under
similar-
existing legislation. This requires that, it's part of our professional development for teachers. There is a topic of human trafficking that has to be part of their learning.
presented. Okay. So it still would fall within a manager if somehow this.
It would not be a separate reporting. It would be police and DCF.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, to accept the recommended policy 5114, suspension and expulsion due process. Motion to approve that. Jim, second. Martha, any questions, comments on that one? No, Mark? All those in favor?
Aye.
Jimmy? Good.
I
And
can
five.
make a statement. I'm very impressed on the suspension and expulsion policy. Pretty rigid. It's good.
Yeah. And we haven't, especially the expulsion, you know, I think we're fortunate here in East Hampton, that's not an issue that comes up very often. I will say in the past that this board has, I think, gone out of its way to be creative, to work with the student and the families and the school when there has been those rare situations. Something that you don't hear of other towns doing. So hopefully we don't have to run into it again, but when it does, it goes well. And finally, to accept the recommended policy 6111, the school calendar.
So moved.
Mark, second. Amanda, comments on the calendar? All those in favor?
Your policy is caught up to your calendar now, which you
Yeah.
approved prior to this.
Yes. Okay, new business. Anyone have any new business they want to bring up, put on future agenda topics? No, hearing none. No personnel, audience of citizens. We have a couple left. No? Amanda, yes.
Well, while everybody's here,
Yes.
I don't know if, there's a program that's brand new through Shape America, which is the National Professional Organization for Health and Physical Education. Your teachers may not be aware of it, but it would be a good fit with a lot of the work that you're doing around climate and mental health, and it's a mental health initiative. It's 4 lessons. They came up with it to replace the partnership with Jump Rope for Heart. So that was a long-standing 4-year partnership. The Heart Association broke off that partnership. So they're still doing something. It's Kids Heart Challenge, but Shape America came up with this. And I was fortunate enough to pilot it I was the only PE teacher in this part of the country. There were 20 pilot schools, the others were like out west. It's fantastic, and you get 4 lessons. You don't have to be a member to do it, but it's also an opportunity to raise funds, and I know that's a thing. But honestly, the educational piece is just, it's in K to 5, it's like kindness and mindfulness. And 6 through 8, it's empowerment. The high school curriculum is supposed to be available in January. So I'm not sure, but a guy in Illinois, I think it was, piloted that, and rave reviews. And so when you talk about like your yellow lanyards and your, so if any of your PE teachers are interested and want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to speak to them. Like, I really can't speak highly enough about it. And so I don't know if this is the appropriate forum to bring that up, but while everybody's here.
No, good.
Great,
thank you. I hear them over here making plans already.
And what you get out of, like, the fundraising piece, any money that you raise as a school, you get 50% back as in the form of a Gopher gift card. So you can, that is not just PE equipment, but there's also like, there's STEM equipment that you can get, there's flexible seating, there's a lot of things that you can do with it. You also can partner with a charity if you want to, but, so it's just a fabulous program.
Our PE teachers definitely work along in alignment with Shape America, so I know they would be interested.
Yeah, you don't have to be a member to do it, but if they're interested in hearing more about it, I have like a lot of information I can share, and it's just really, really good stuff.
That would be awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calendar events, there's one. Paul has some visitors. Maybe he wants to talk about coming soon.
Next Tuesday, we have 21 principals from the Guangdong province spending the day in the East Hampton Public Schools. They actually arrive Monday, so we have them on a day where they could be a little jet lagged, but we have a series of presentations. They're coming here to study teacher evaluation and teacher professional development, and they're visiting 5 schools in Connecticut. Our district is one of the ones that they're going to visit. They'll spend the day here. I know Mary's presenting to them, Chris is presenting, Andy's presenting, Joey Bauer's presenting, Andrea Winarski's presenting, and Regina Della Volpe is presenting information to them. We're doing a nice lunch at Poe's, and then they're all coming over to my house for dinner. My wife is going to play piano, and it's a giant sing-along. Anybody is welcome to attend that event. They will be very conservative in the meeting here, but when they get to my home, it's quite the fun event. It's a group that, a similar group came to visit us last year. They were so excited about their day that they've asked to come back to East Hampton. The Guangdong province is not on our tour this particular year when we go in April, but every time they come here, they beg us to come down and visit them.
We got to plan that for the next one.
We will have to connect with the Guangdong province.
Since my geography of China is a little lacking.
Yes.
Where is that?
If you picture China as about the same size of the United States, it would be down towards Georgia.
Okay.
In that area. It is actually the home of SARS. If you remember that disease, yes. It kind of was known as the home of SARS. It has since been eradicated, but every time you see a little program that talks about world epidemics, it was from the Guangdong province that SARS was.
On that note,
and I usually say that towards dessert at my house. That's how we begin the conversation here.
Motion to adjourn? So moved. Mark, second. Jim, have a good night. Thank you, everybody. I didn't know that little tidbit.
Oh, I love tidbits.